You're currently watching football wrong. Well, it depends. Which kind of football fan are you? The type of fan who actually watches games and judges players based on what you see? Or are you the type of fan who mainly judges players, not with your eyes, but with a lot of stats? People are still arguing about this after many years, with pundits and the media all changing their viewpoints, coming up with all sorts of reasons why one method is better than the other. And while you might think you know the answer, in this video I'm going to tell you exactly which way is the right way, completely changing the way you view football. After spending countless hours going through interviews, data sheets, full matches and more, I determined all of the factors to come up with, once and for all, an actual answer. And finally, you'll be able to know which one is better, the eye test or the stats. First, let's go over where the eye test works better than stats. While numbers don't lie, they can be deceiving. Can stats really be the best way to determine how good a player is? Well, let's put it to the test. Let's take Zinedine Zidane. Regarded as a legend of the game, a Ballon d'Or winner, Champions League and World Cup winner, he spent most of his career playing as an attacking midfielder, yet he never really scored or assisted that much. In fact, he never got over 90 goals in a season over his entire career and only managed double-digit assists once. During his Real Madrid days, he averaged about 15 league goals and assists per season. Compare that to Jude Bellingham, who was 20 last year, playing in that same number 10 role, he managed 19 league goals and 6 assists. Does that mean Bellingham is better than Zidane? Well, that's a small sample size for Jude. What about Bruno Fernandes? He has some of the best output we've seen from a midfielder. Since 2017, he's managed about 24 goals and assists per season, a way higher tally than Zidane. Plus, he's done it over multiple years. Does that mean he's better than Zidane? Well, of course not. Zidane contributed more than just goals. Just watch one of his games and you'll see he was an expert at controlling the ball with elite vision and passing. He was an elegant dribbler with a very high football IQ. He also showed up in the big moments, scoring in both a World Cup final and a Champions League final. Those are things that cannot be measured by stats. So is it fair to compare him with other midfielders with those metrics? Some midfielders are just actually have a game suited to scoring more than others. Take Lampard and Iniesta. Lampard was the master at the late run in the box with a deadly shot on him. He's managed double-digit league goals 10 years in a row, including the season with 22 goals and 14 assists. His game was more accustomed to scoring and assisting. His numbers put someone like Iniesta's to shame, but that's because Iniesta's style wasn't about scoring. He routinely dictated the pace of the game. With his elite passing and dribbling, he could create space from nothing and combine with his teammates with his high IQ for some great link-up play. Creativity like this can't be measured in stats. You knew he was world class by watching him play. Two very different type of midfielders, both world class. Kevin De Bruyne fits the Lampard type with elite output, while Modric fits the Iniesta type with very low output. Well, comparing a role as complicated as midfielders, it's hard to use goals and assists. So what about strikers? Their main job is to score. So surely the better the striker, the more the goals. Well, let's take Drogba and Lukaku. Who do you think has more Premier League goals? Well, the answer is Lukaku. You may be thinking, well, Lukaku has played more games, so the numbers are taken out of context, but their goal ratio is exactly the same. Statistically, Lukaku is on par with Drogba. If I ask you who's better, you'll tell me Drogba. Why? Because once again, stats don't tell the full story. Drogba had much more impact on games. He combined with his teammates better and always showed up when it mattered most. There's also another problem the stats argument faces. Not all stats are equal. Let's dive deeper. There's more than just two stats you can look at. There's dribbles completed, chances created, passes completion, successful tackles, but diving deeper into the stats, it just makes this argument more and more flimsy. People like to say instead of assists, you should use chances created to show a midfielder's creativity. After all, they can't force their striker to score, but the problem is not all chances created are equal. Take a look at these two clips from Ødegaard's masterclass against Chelsea. Ødegaard makes a standard sideways pass to Trossard. He has a shot, and this goes down as a chance created. Yet this clip where he takes out 5 Chelsea players with one move and pass doesn't, because Tomiyasu doesn't shoot the ball, despite this chance only being possible because of Ødegaard. Numbers don't lie, but you will never have the full context of each and every stat on the pitch and the impact it has on the play. People often take these stats out of context to try and argue something that doesn't really exist. Take the big chances missed stat. This stat is often used to highlight the weaker finishers in the striker position. So let's look at the Premier leaders for this stat last season. You have names like Brennan Johnson, Nicholas Jackson, Darwin Núñez. Those guys have been known for being poor finishers. But far and away, number one on that list is none other than the worst finisher in the league, Erling Haaland. I mean, well, he did miss some sitters last year. His numbers were down quite a lot, so this kind of does make sense. The season before that was when he was the world's best finisher, so surely he can't be there again, except he is. Well, I could take this stat and run the agenda that Haaland is overrated trash whose finishing is terrible. But when you put this stat into context, we'll see create a whole load of chances. They're the best team in the league, and Haaland has loads of opportunities to score, which he does. It also gives him loads of opportunities to miss, which he does. With more context, it makes more sense. Okay, we've spoken about attackers a lot, but what I found about defenders and stats will truly shock you. I'm going to put 2 Premier League centre-back stats on screen over the last 4 seasons. You tell me who you think is better. Player A, although has conceded slightly more, has more blocks, tackles, interceptions, has less errors leading to goals and less penalties conceded, all while doing so in 1,500 less minutes. So who do you think is better? Well, I can reveal that player B is none other than Virgil van Dijk and player A is Harry Maguire. Is your answer still the same? Stats can be used to tell all sorts of stories without actually telling you the truth. Because stats against Maguire and Van Dijk are always used in Twitter posts and articles to try and prove that Harry Maguire is some world-class defender on par with Van Dijk. This obviously isn't the case. I conveniently left out a couple of stats, not to mention these stats are skewed because United do more defending than Liverpool, meaning Maguire has more chance to boost his numbers. But if you watch football with your eyes, you'll know who's actually better. Van Dijk makes way more last man tackles, he's a better 2v1 defender, he's stronger and faster than Maguire, he's better in the air, he scores more, passes better, is a better leader and organizer of the back line, he's more composed. I mean, I can go on all day. But there's no stats to measure the things that Van Dijk does right. And there's no stats to measure the things that Maguire does wrong. It's easy using a few stats to make Maguire look better than he actually is. All sorts of stats can be taken out of context, from using XG to claim that one team dominated the game, to saying a keeper with a higher save percentage is better. It's just not how it works. The eye test can be more reliable when stats can easily deceive you. But can the eye test deceive you? What can stats tell us that the eye test can't? It can tell us way more than what we can see. On FB Ref, you have these detailed scouting reports of every single player, all their per 90 stats and what percentile they're ranked according to position. They cover more than just the standard goals and assists. There's progressive carries, pass completion, through balls, dribbling, possession. They have as many stats as you need. The eye test can never give you something like this, and these stats can be great at identifying player profiles. There is a caveat though. The only thing stats can tell you is a player's role. Enzo is way higher in the passing stats than Declan Rice. Does that mean Enzo is a better midfielder? No, it just highlights who does what role for their team. Stats can never tell you the full picture. You can never determine who's better than who unless you watch the game and see the impact each player has yourself. But numbers don't lie. You either count it or you don't. There is no deliberation, it just is. The eye test isn't so straightforward. Everybody values certain things differently. For example, there's a lot of football fans who think scoring tappings doesn't take much skill, but ask other fans and they'll tell you that to be in the right place at the right time often is incredibly difficult. The eye test is very opinion based and varies a lot depending on who you ask. It's why player ratings fluctuate so much. In the North London derby, Jorginho captained an Arsenal side that won 1-0, but multiple news outlets claimed that he struggled. They gave him a 5 out of 10, and they came up for all their reasons why. Yet other outlets gave him a 7 out of 10, and he even managed to feature on Alan Shearer's Team of the Week. Player ratings will never universally be agreed upon, with some being more harsh than others, with everyone valuing performances differently. In the end, sites like SofaScore and WhoScored, who value their player ratings based on stats, end up being a lot more consistent than an outlet like L'Equipe, who rate based on the eye test. This makes the eye test much harder to trust, but there is an incredibly good reason as to why the eye test changes so much. The answer was perfectly explained by Thierry Henry.
I get annoyed when people do not recognize the skill of a football player, because a bicycle kick, they will recognize that, right? Yeah. Because not everybody can do a bicycle kick or a volley or something out of this world. But people just think that a diagonal ball, you hit 80 yards away, winger making a run behind the right back in the space of the winger. When the quarterback does that with his hand, it's a highlight reel. Yeah. But when the football player jumps, gets the ball 1 foot in the air, full speed, toe pokes the ball down, go back on one of his legs, guy comes, blocks the guy, puts the ball down.
And no one's like nothing. It's just like...
But sometimes people devalue
football,
the skills of a football player because we make it look easy. Everyone thinks that they can play football. And I always say, not at that level.
Unless you actually understand football, you simply won't know what to look for to spot a good player. If tap-ins were so easy, well, everyone would be scoring them. A midfielder who plays a perfectly weighted pass behind a defender right into the attacker's feet doesn't get the time of day unless the striker scores and it counts as an assist. The eye test just simply doesn't always work because people don't know how impressive these things are. People are more drawn to fancy displays of football, while a lot of high-quality footballers can fly under the radar. You may have heard some people call Thomas Müller underrated. In fact, it's now overrated to call him underrated, but some people just don't understand how accurate this statement is. His own teammate gives a pretty good explanation.
Some kids, when they see like Neymar dribbling, they think that's what it takes to be a professional. Like Thomas, before I came to Bayern, like just watching like as a fan, I'm like, bro, how's this guy's a professional? He's not fast, he doesn't do skill, you know? Like you see all these skill shows and you see people doing all these fancy tricks and kids think like, okay, you need to be like this good to be a professional. It's all about the little details. Touch, play. If your ability to play touch and your first touch is so clean, I swear, nobody can touch you on the pitch.
Thomas Müller doesn't have the flashiest play style, and so he can go very much under the radar. If you don't understand how difficult having a clean first touch or reading an opposition defense is, then you'll have no clue why Thomas Müller is considered one of the best at what he does. Because even if we check the stats, these are the numbers of a world-class talent. 320 league goals and assists in 475 games, 12 league titles, 2 Champions Leagues, and a World Cup. He should be hailed as one of the best to ever do it, but football fans rarely talk about him because he doesn't do a load of stepovers or score long shots. Another player that fits this well is Griezmann. This is a guy who is criminally underrated. He's Atletico Madrid's all-time top goal scorer. He's been in the Ballon d'Or top 3 twice, World Cup winner with a silver boot and a bronze ball, and was one of, if not the most important French player at the 22 World Cup. He's been one of the most consistent footballers over the last decade, yet Griezmann just isn't spoken about often. Thierry Henry even called him the most underrated player in existence. His first touch, IQ, creativity, they're all world class. Sometimes stats can paint a better picture than what the eye test can when we don't quite understand the impact a certain player has. It's why CDM, for me, is the most underrated position in football. Someone like Sergio Busquets never did anything fancy. He was slow, unathletic, and when you play with Messi, Xavi, Suarez, Neymar, you're not going to stand out much in terms of highlights. But Vicente Del Bosque put it perfectly. You watch the game, you don't see Busquets. You watch Busquets, you see the whole game. This doesn't just go for underrated players, it goes for overrated players too. Players with fancy highlight reels tend to be rated a lot higher than they actually are. Someone like Neymar comes to mind, but he was genuinely a world-class talent who actually had good output. Pogba is a more accurate example. This guy was a walking highlight. He could score some insane long shots. He had passes that I've never seen anyone even attempt, let alone place perfectly. Watch our Pogba highlight tape and I promise you'll be in awe. It's easy to rate Pogba a lot higher than he actually is. I'm guilty of doing so myself. But in reality, Pogba had a lot of matches where he'd go missing. Games where he struggled to influence the play, dictate the tempo, and make silly defensive mistakes that cost his team. Outside of his crazy highlights, he was often branded a liability. But you see, that right there is the biggest problem of them all. Highlights. The reason why the eye test will never work and people rely on stats is because people aren't even watching the games in the first place. Most people's analysis on football doesn't come from what they see. It comes from what they hear through pundits or Twitter or sports articles. People are judging players they've never watched outside of 3-minute highlights on YouTube. Now that could be because football is very expensive to watch. It's also impossible to watch every game of football. Most people struggle to even watch every match from their own team. So how do people then judge players? Well, they use stats. They get the results on their phone. They see who scored or assisted, and from there, they decide who had a bad game or not. We know that's not how it works, but for some people, it is. I've seen the goals and assist debate more times than I'd like to count on Twitter, despite there being more to football than these two stats. Alternatively, people end up using highlights and comps to decide if someone is good. I'll never forget when Mudryk was linked to Arsenal. I searched YouTube and watched all of his Welcome to Arsenal comps. This guy looked class, dribbling, passing, shooting, he could do it it all, I thought, wow, this guy is going to be a great signing for Arsenal. When Chelsea hijacked the deal, I honestly thought it was the steal of the century. Well, since he's joined Chelsea, he's done absolutely nothing. These comps fooled all of us, and there's been countless other cases of this too. Highlight tapes are not a sensible way to judge footballers because comps can make anyone look amazing. In this new age of watching football through TikToks and Instagram reels, seeing players do meaningless flicks and tricks, people have started to misunderstand what actually being a good footballer is. If you've ever scored a 30-yard screamer, then according to Instagram reels, you're the world's greatest player. This is not how football works. Number of assists doesn't equal good game. So is this going to be the future of football, where we no longer watch games, we just check out the stats? Well, that's already how football works at a lot of big clubs. Teams now have whole data analyst departments filled with people who don't watch the games, they just analyze the stats. If you've seen the film Moneyball, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Football teams now make signings based on what the data shows them in their player profile. It's how Liverpool signed Mo Salah. Klopp was eager to sign Julian Brandt, but Michael Edwards was adamant that the data showed Salah was a better fit for the system, and well, the rest is history. It's not just how clubs decide who's good either. Neville went on TV and said he decided his Man of the Match awards based on stats. It just goes to show you that it's not just armchair Twitter fans who use arbitrary stats to decide who's better. There's a few very important people who have a word to say about this stats revolution. Jose Mourinho put it plainly. Arsene Wenger said stats can cheat you. These are two elite coaches telling you that stats simply aren't everything. Even players themselves don't like being judged by stats. Benzema said we no longer bother to look at what a guy does on the pitch, only if he scored. Hazard took it one step further with his assessment on the numbers game. You have players, they score 3 goals by scoring tap-ins 3 times, and afterwards we say, wow, they don't excite me at all. Today, the only thing that matters is having goals and assists. Are we going to start seeing this more and more, where the only thing that matters is the numbers of chances created and successful dribbles, or does the eye test still prevail? The truth is, stats and advanced stats are a much more superior way of analyzing football. They simply just tell us more about football. They give a non-biased, accurate representation of every single footballer. It's impossible to watch every single player and determine who's good and who's not, and it's hard to trust other people's eye test. So stats do prevail. However, you have to look at stats in context. Some midfielders' roles aren't about creating chances or assisting, the same way some strikers offer more than scoring. Unfortunately, people take these stats out of context and love to give it their own meaning to fuel their personal agendas. So stats in context is superior than an untrustworthy eye test. But the thing is, you can never ever know how good someone truly is unless you watch them. You can throw all the stats out there to try and convince someone that Messi is the GOAT, but show them Messi actually playing and it will be a completely different feeling. People who are so against numbers being used in football are lagging behind, while people who only care about stats are missing out on the true beauty of the game. Watching footballers do things that stats can never show you is the whole point of watching the sport. A wise man once said, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. If you enjoyed that video, check out our last one right here.